This is Grace Notes. I'm Alan Button, and pleased to have as our guest today Dr. Tom Daniel. And I might say, despite the moniker of doctor, Tom is a real guy. Tom comes to us as, well, there are a lot of things that we could say about him, but our focus is on some work that he has done in pulling together a Spay-Neuter enterprise in the central part of North Carolina. And Tom, of course, will tell us more about that. But before I go further, Tom, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to talk.
Our pleasure. Tom is a graduate of Duke University and University of Florida Veterinary School.
I probably just made a bunch of, let's say, not fans out there. Yeah. My wife went to Carolina.
Okay. Good.
Our house divided.
Tom, why don't we jump right into what it is that you do in the spay-neuter world as a veterinarian. And by way of further introduction, let me let our listeners know that Tom helped put together a nonprofit organization called the Companion Animal Clinic Foundation of the Sandhills. He's a former board member of that organization and is the owner of an affiliated enterprise called Sandhills Spay-Neuter Veterinary Clinic, which opened in 2008. Did I get that right, Tom?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Tell us more about what it is that you do in this arena.
So the foundation, I'll call it the foundation, that's the 501c3. It's the financial supporter of the practice that provides these services. And that means that they own the building, they own the equipment, they now own the mobile unit that we purchased at the end of last year. And that allows us to provide these services at a low cost because we're uncompensated owners as well. So that's important for people to know. We own the practice, I have another partner who helps me with the management and the ownership. And the services are provided by the practice and is financially supported now for these many years by the Companion Animal Clinic Foundation.
Very good. Tell you what, we'll come back in a few minutes to some of the details about what exactly the clinic does, what you do as part of the clinic. But tell us how you got into veterinary medicine in the first place.
Well, veterinary medicine, I was always one of those kids. I could never remember not wanting to be a veterinarian. And then I exposed myself to small animal veterinary early, 14, 15 years old, volunteering and then working with a work permit. And I was disillusioned. I had a crisis of confidence in myself because now I didn't want to do that. And I wasn't raised around horses. I didn't know what I'll call the disease that is obsession with horses that those of us are inflicted with.
Yeah, I guess I didn't mention that Tom's focus is on equine veterinary medicine as part of your practice is Southern Pines Equine Associates.
Yeah, we actually, now that you mention it, Tuesday was our 27th anniversary of establishing that practice, 1995.
Congratulations.
Jim Hamilton is my partner in that, and we've been together for 27 years now. I guess I've been married for 27 years.
Very good.
But, so professionally, horses only. Mm-hmm. I've only ever wanted to do horses, and I have ever since I graduated from vet school. I've been horse select. But when I came to Moore County, and it wasn't just Moore County, we drive all over the place doing horses, and so I'm on all these roads, and it was just remarkable to me the number of stray animals that were just littering our countryside and suffering as a result. You could see the suffering on the side of the road. You could see the trauma of seeing these animals, dead on the side of the road. It's horrible. Mm. And I just couldn't. When you started looking into it, there were 5,000 animals coming into Moore County Animal Center in 2007 and 78% euthanasia. I mean, that's not hard to do numbers.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot of suffering.
4,000 some.
4,000. 4,000 dead animals killed. Euthanasia happens out of mercy. When it's out of inconvenience, I don't know if I think I agree with one of my original board members, Joel Schreiber, who said, killing out of inconvenience is killing. It's not euthanasia.
Uh-huh.
If you look at that problem, how can you not do something about that, right?
Let's come come back to that in a few minutes because your mention of roads reminds me of this first song that you selected.
True.
L.A. Freeway. Why that song?
L.A. Freeway takes me back to my college days, number one. It reminds me of a very good friend of mine, William Dennis Neville, number two.
Picking up on one of the lyrics.
I think he comes up on one of the lyrics. And it's just the thought, behind the song itself. To me, it's just the life is, the LA freeway. It's just too fast, and it's dangerous sometimes, and it's just chaos. And you just sometimes got to hit a dirt road. You got to get yourself out of that flow that can overwhelm you, and just slow down and take that country road somewhere land you've never bought, but it's out there somewhere. That piece is somewhere. But you got to get off the freeway.
You were telling me before we came into the studio about how that theme resonates in the professional equine veterinary arena.
It can
especially.
Yeah, this profession can make you you can wake up when you're 50 and not even remember your 30s and 40s. You just put your head down and just pushed ahead all the time. And we pay a large toll for that in our profession, unfortunately. And I've always had my eyes on not doing that. John Wooden said we get so busy making a living that we forget to make a life. Let's get off the freeway.
And of course, a lot of people in a lot of different professions can relate to exactly what you're talking about.
It's certainly not unique to us.
Let's hear it. L.A. Freeway by Jerry Jeff Walker.
Pack up all your dishes. Make note of all good wishes.
That was L.A. Freeway by Jerry Jeff Walker. If you're just joining us, our guest today is Dr. Tom Daniel, veterinarian in North Carolina, who has, besides practicing with Southern Pines Equine Associates, has been very involved for a number of years now with an organization that he helped get started that deals with the overpopulation problem of dogs and cats that is not unique to Moore County or North Carolina specifically, but he's got a special focus on that and has got special insight on that. Tom, why don't you pick up where we left off and tell us more about what exactly the clinic does and why you got involved?
Yeah, well, if you look at the mission statement of the Companion Animal Clinic Foundation, I think it says a lot, and that is to stop euthanasia as a means of overpopulation of our companion animals through access to low-cost spay-neuter. So without access to low-cost spay-neuter, this problem that existed, this many thousands of animals, was just increasing at 13% a year in 2007. It's untenable. So what we do is access to, what does that mean? Financial access, transportation access, time. If you work 2 jobs, you don't have time access to get to us. So we have to break down the barriers. We can't just build a spay-neuter clinic and staff it. It's hard. I mean, we have the best staff I've ever seen anywhere. I'll tell you right now, my practice manager is absolutely the best.
Her name is?
Erin Maurer. Yeah, and she's been with that practice for a long time, and she is a phenomenal leader, and she's built such a positive workforce. It's such a positive environment to be in. You would think this would be it is a very hard job to do, but they do it so well and with such grace that it's actually quite fun to go into this place. And we've done 90,000 surgeries, coming up on 90,000 surgeries since we opened.
Man.
We've done 10,000 surgeries since we took over new ownership January of last year. And we're booked out. They don't stop coming.
I did some math. That comes out to, on average, 30-some a day?
Yeah, our one doctor days are anywhere, or we did 31 today. I was in there earlier. And the 1 doctor days are about 31. 2 doctor days we'll do about 50 to 55 a day.
Two doctors.
And we're hoping to get, if we get the mobile unit up and running, and we do that 4 days a week, and we have 4 days a week at the clinic. We wear people out in 4 days. Can't do it 5 days a week.
So Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, Monday through Thursday, because that's their 40 hours, their hard hours. So that has resulted in accountability is important. There's a lot of people's money we're spending here, and we need accountability. And in fact, you see the numbers. So you can see the decrease in intakes and the decrease in the percentage of animals euthanized. And it's very encouraging that we can do this. It can be done, and we show that it can be done. It just, you have to stay focused on it all the time. You can't drop the ball, or else it will, entropy will happen. If we're not vigilant about this constantly, then you'll lose ground real quick. These animals will show you that.
I'm interested in the fact that you, a few minutes ago, described these as companion animals. That seems to tie right into the sort of compassionate motivation for what you do. Is that fair?
Yeah, you see this importance of these animals in people's lives. You see the significance of these animals, and just being seen, the need that they have, just being seen that way, it makes it all worthwhile. It's really kind of a selfish, and you get lauded like this or whatever this is, and really, truthfully, it's selfish, because it enriches you so much, right? It feeds you. It gives you so much back that you really do it kind of almost for yourself.
Yeah, I hear you.
If you know what I mean.
I think that's okay.
I'll take it. I'm fine with it.
That kind of selfishness is probably all right.
I'm fine with being selfish that way.
But the spay neuter alternative to euthanasia, so-called, is, of course, a great way to go.
It's the only way. It is the way to go. And then when you tie that into local efforts that are a wonderful organization, the Pet Responsibility Committee is doing in educating our fourth graders. So education is a huge, and they do 6 one-hour sessions on pet responsibility in either the first or second semester of fourth grade year now in all Moore County public schools. And they've been doing it long enough that every senior that's graduated has that foundation of pet responsibility in their brain. So I think between awareness of like that, the educational aspect of it, and access to low cost, I think we will get there over time.
Angela Zumwalt has been a huge part of that.
That is. She's a huge part of that.
Tell us, Tom, about this next song that you've selected, Spanish Pipe Dream. Why that song? How does that fit into
John
this story?
Prine? Again, it takes me back to my college days, because my friend Fred Parks, hopefully Freddie's listening, but he told me I had to go see John Prine freshman year because he came out of Chicago and he knew him. And I've listened to Prine ever since. I mean, he's such a lyricist. There's some great lyrics in that song. But the message is, these days of social media, blow up the TV, throw away the paper that you'll hear in this song. It's not just the TV and the newspaper. I think he's representing all of this craziness. Again, it's kind of related to the earlier song, I think, in a way. But one is more of a personal journey that you take yourself through to get the craziness maybe that's even in our mind, that freeway in our mind sometimes. But then we have all these external forces that are just yelling at us all the time. And if we can just not do that and find that place and move yourself to the country, get out there and live a simple life and stop with all this other getting yelled at. Don't listen to it anymore. It's just that simple.
I'm hearing you describe John Prine as a modern day Henry David Thoreau.
He's in everything. Some of his songs have very sharp, poignant meaning to them, and I think this is one of those that is these days seems very appropriate. So I'm glad that you allowed me to pick that one.
Great introduction. Let's hear it. Spanish Pipe Dream by John Prine.
She was a level-headed dancer on the road to alcohol, and I was just a soldier on the way found Jesus on our
Tom, could you tell us something about the scope of the problem that the clinic and the foundation are addressing?
The problem exists in great degrees everywhere right now in North Carolina, and so we try to reach out. I know your audience is a wide audience, and we try to reach out to what may be a considerable part of that. Every county that touches Moore County, we service. Not much in Cumberland, but we service 11 counties.
Uh-huh.
And so we try to reach out beyond just our own immediate backyard into other people's backyards and see if we can't help there as well. So that's why we have so many animals. It's not just coming from Moore County, because there isn't access to low-cost spay neuter in enough places in North Carolina for everyone to have this same thing that we've created.
You say because there are not.
There are not enough. There are not enough.
You're talking about thousands of animals annually.
When you think about us having 100 counties in North Carolina, the scale of the problem that still exists in Moore County, the home of our spay neuter clinic, then it's frightening when you do the math.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's why we have to do something about it.
What kind of feedback have you gotten, or what kind? Tell us something about the sort of the public relations response and aspect of all that you do. Have you gotten positive feedback, or?
Well, it's important to me as a veterinarian. The first thing that we did was ask the veterinarians in town if they thought this was a good idea, and every one of them said, "How quickly can you build this?"
Uh-huh.
Because these are not people that are normally availing themselves to veterinarians, right? That is our focus, is that crowd, those people that are in need.
Who, as you were saying before, because of financial and transportation limitations,
barriers to veterinary, to just basic health care for these animals.
Uh-huh.
And yes, there are other things that these folks need in terms of health care, but we stay singularly focused on spay neuter. That's all we do at that clinic: spay neuter and rabies and microchips. But that's it. We will not have mission creep, because then our efforts will be diluted, and we need to stay true to that singular aspect of trying to address this problem.
And I take it that over these years since you started things, there's been some real collaboration with others who have bought into and acknowledged the issues that you're talking about.
And it extends even to a public-private cooperative effort. You have a lot of private efforts that are coordinated, in other words, feral cat groups that have limited resources, and maybe we can help them by reducing the price of their surgeries, with subsidizing with grants. But our county commissioners have stepped up to the plate and recognized the physical responsibility. These animals, handling each animal costs on average about $100. And so each intake is $100 in taxpayer money that we now are saving. So there's a huge physical responsibility in this effort as well. And our county commissioners have come to appreciate and recognize that, and they invest in us and try to help us in our efforts. And I think that is extremely important moving forward. Not only collaboration between private to private, but private to public needs to happen as well, because this is truly one of those things where we are much stronger together than we are individually apart.
Uh-huh. It just occurred to me that my wife and I have now, over these last 20 years, had two rescue animals, both females, both of which were spayed. And
get a rescue.
Yeah, talking about companion animals. Boy, they have been special parts of our family.
Yeah, when you go into what we call the pet care days that we do community pet care days, and people have available a very, very reasonably priced veterinary exam and free vaccines and food, and we do it in these communities that need more attention and more help. And just communing with the people in the parking lot waiting, just seeing, again, like you said, the importance of these animals to the quality of their life. It's when you realize that this is something that's absolutely necessary. For the social costs of having these overpopulated animals is not only financial, but emotional and traumatic. But just having these animals as part of their lives is, you see the importance in it. Again, it's a selfish thing, right? It makes me feel so good knowing that we can help enhance that relationship.
Well, looking at it from my perspective on the outside here, you don't have to worry about it being selfish. You're doing a great service, and I commend you for it.
I'm proud of the organization that we put together. I'm proud of the board that we have there now. The staff at the clinic are phenomenal. So I just make phone calls. It's so funny that, I get recognized for making phone calls, but I don't do the work. I just do the phone calls. So I don't want to take credit for this. There's so many other people that are behind this, and our financial supporters. We wouldn't have done this without that. And so it's everyone else, actually. It's the collective effort that's being recognized, I hope, here today.
Well, Tom, we're running a bit short on time, but I do want us to take a little bit of time to circle back to maybe your beginnings, because I know your beginnings relate to this third song you've selected.
Yeah, the last song, when you asked the question, name 3 songs, it was a challenging question, but the first one was easy and obvious to me, and that's only because I'm not a particularly religious person, but I was raised in the church, and my dad's voice was certainly heard in that church a lot when he had a magnificent voice, and he used it in that way. And this is my favorite song that he ever sang. When he hit some of those notes, his soul would fill the room, which included you. It would get inside of you. It literally brought people to tears. And I lost him a couple years ago. So,
by the way, we're talking about How Great Thou Art, a hymn well known to many, of course. Your parents were a big influence on you.
They were very giving people, very, very community-oriented people. And I think without unspoken philosophy is take care of your backyard, find the problem in your backyard that bothers you, and do something to fix it. And I tell my daughter, the one thing I want her to remember from me is leave it better than you found it. That goes towards the people that you interact with. Leave them better than you found them for having known you. And the place you live, leave it better than you found it. Find that problem and fix it. It's really as simple as that. And my mom and dad lived that. So that's why the song.
And you were telling me that this particular version, which we're going to hear by Elvis Presley, it was right up there with your dad's version.
My dad could beat Elvis every day of the week. He just couldn't dance as well.
Tom, it's been great to have you here. Thank you for being with us.
I appreciate you shedding light on this very important aspect of our community, and I appreciate your show for showing the positive things that can happen in this world.
Thank you. Let's hear it. How Great Thou Art by Elvis Presley.
I'd like to do one of my favorite gospel songs. This features the Stamps also, How Great Thou Art.